going to Webster Tarpley. Dr. Tarpley, do you want to get into the Libya situation first, the economy, or this whole News Corps scandal where the star witness magically dies and within minutes of finding the body, the cops say, not criminal, go away, we're not going to release details, go to sleep. I mean, everything is accelerating. The world is getting crazier and crazier. So we talk about the war, the so-called default, or the News Corps situation.
Why don't we do Libya first and then move on quickly to the other two?
Sure, go ahead.
The whole thing. Basically, on Libya, I think the main thing to understand is that the coalition of aggressor imperialist countries that's attacking Libya is tending to fall apart. We have Norway, which provided 10% of the airstrikes on Libya with their 6 jets, have cut that to 4, and by the end of the month it'll be 0. So Norway is essentially going home. The Netherlands had provided 6 jets. They now say they will not do any more bombing. They will only do the no-fly zone, the interdiction that is going on there. And here in the United States, we just had a vote on the Kucinich resolution in the House of Representatives 10 days ago, where you had 229 warmongers lining up against 199 who were in favor of cutting the funding and ending this military adventure. So that is a margin.
Hold on, it's not military, it's kinetic, and it's peace. Tarpley, don't be a conspiracy theorist here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just incorrigible. It's a 15-vote margin. Now think about that, 15 votes. You're 15 votes away from having the House on record against this war and in favor of cutting off the funding. That would be a tremendous political...
They normally sign on headlong to anything. This is big to show that they have almost become anti-war, or anti-peace, I'm sorry, in the House of Representatives.
Well, a lot of these are people from the Tea Party, and again, you know, I don't agree with them on much else, but on this one, I think that's fine, and they should therefore go ahead and do their thing.
Tarpley, I think you've been stereotyping the Tea Party. It's a very diverse group of people.
Well, the ones you see in the House of Representatives all say exactly the same thing. They have the same mantra, which I don't agree with for 1 minute. But still, let them do some good. I think it's likely that these people in the Tea Party are going to get leaned on by Wall Street. Wall Street is telling them right now...
No, they admit that Boehner is twisting their arms to give us this fake, quote, austerity package that does nothing to fix the derivatives bubble.
Yeah, we don't want the austerity, and we don't want the derivatives either. But I think when you look at somebody like Mitch McConnell has gotten a message from Wall Street, raise the debt limit or else. And I think there are separate reasons that make that a plausible idea. But he's been told, do this or else, and he's going to have to force these House Tea Party guys to knuckle under. Once they've finished with that, they're going to be very humiliated and very angry, and they're going to be looking around for an issue where they can go against Obama. And Libya is the perfect issue, because here, Obama is now many, many months into impeachment territory, right? He's violating the War Powers Act. He was supposed to get permission by 60 days. That was May 20th. And then he was supposed to get out by June 20th. That was 90 days, and we're now above 120 days, and he's still going ahead with this.
Yeah, he says he doesn't need Congress, but you, describe what you saw in Libya, and then let's get into the real meat and potatoes here, Webster. What do you make of France and Italy saying they want to broker a peace deal? Is there anything to that? Is there anything to Gaddafi stepping down, but then allowing real elections? What's the inside baseball on that?
Well, remember, Gaddafi, in technical terms, has no official post. Now, there's no doubt that he's the dominant personality running this entire thing. But in terms of stepping down, what do you step down from? Does it mean he has to go into exile? I don't think any of that is likely to happen, because I've seen in that demonstration that you put on your program there on Friday, July 1st, after we got finished with that, I went down and went into the crowd and talked to a lot of people, and they're all very heavily invested in Gaddafi, and I think with some reason. Essentially, the choice is Gaddafi or chaos. So whatever you think of Gaddafi, he's better than chaos, and from the Libyan perspective, I think even more so.
Yeah, it's more like Tito in the Bosnia area, and then after he was removed, the whole place disintegrated.
Yes, that's a very good comparison. I don't think...
Okay, then why do we suddenly see France saying, okay, we want peace, and Italy saying that? What does that signal? Because they're still moving towards the September-October ground invasion.
The Italians, Berlusconi said last week that he thought the whole thing had been a terrible mistake and that he had been forced into it by the Italian parliament. Now, the Italian parliament in this case means something calling itself the Democratic Party, which is the neo-communists. And remember, Italy has a neo-communist president, Napolitano. That guy was a member of the Italian Communist Party. So these people, unfortunately, far from being communists, work for the CIA and for Soros. That's essentially that's where they're coming from. So they're pro-war. They're pro-NATO warmongers.
It's the communoid banker system.
Yes, something like that. The bankers, communists for finance capital, or something like this, which is to some degree what they always were, right? Going back to Marx. But the Italian situation is, strangely enough, there you also have a right-wing opposition. It's the Northern League, right? The old Lombard League, now the Northern League, and they're demanding that this thing be brought to an end. And that would pretty much end the whole adventure, because all the key bases that are being used to carry this out are pretty much...
So is it safe to say from your research, and I would concur with this, that momentum is now shifting away from a ground invasion and the war is falling apart for NATO?
I think it may be, and it's also the case that the Libyan pro-Gaddafi forces have done quite well for themselves lately. The rebels are manic. They make these very unwise advances. And you've had 2 cases now in the past week where the rebels have rushed forward and then gotten mowed down, right? When you have 10 to 15 dead on the battlefield in this kind of a war, that's a lot. And if you have 100 to 200 wounded, that's a lot. And we've had that last week, and now apparently we've got it again today. So that's quite serious. So the rebels are very weak. They're a rabble in arms. The French are flying in weapons to the Western mountains. That violates the UN resolution. The British and the U.S. are shipping in weapons through Egypt, across the Egyptian border. That violates the UN resolution. They don't care about the UN resolution. So I think that the political support for this is collapsing. Also, it has to do with the tremendous financial difficulties of a lot of these governments. The real question is France and Sarkozy. And I've just seen a news bulletin going by in the crawl that the French are now willing to talk without the departure of Gaddafi being the precondition. Is that right?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Actually, They said that yesterday.
Okay, fine. So that's
what I've been bringing up. Yeah.
I think it may well be that some of them want to cut their losses, because the only way they can do anything more is to have that ground invasion. And then, of course, you get into the body bags and a tremendous wave.
Yeah, you run into 2 million North Africans that have been handed AK-47s and grenade launchers that you witnessed in that crowd of at least 500,000 ready to die. That is not going to be a cakewalk.
No, it's not. So I think this is a piece of absolute folly. Plus, it's very expensive in monetary terms. So I think it may well be that some more greater realism is coming forward, except that you've got Sarkozy and to some degree Obama, who have tied their prestige to this, but especially Sarkozy. So it's going to be a big personal defeat for Sarkozy if this doesn't end with the departure of
What do you
Gaddafi.
make of the Dominique Strauss-Kahn thing turning out to be a complete fraud?
Well, that I think this is an interesting scenario, and I have this from a very good French source and from a good German source too. The week after his arrest, Strauss-Kahn was going to fly to Berlin and meet with German Chancellor Merkel. And depending on the outcome of that meeting, an envoy was going to go from Berlin to Libya, to Tripoli, to meet Gaddafi and his circle. And the goal of all of this traveling was to begin to set up another reserve currency for the world, that is some alternative supplement maybe at the beginning to the dollar, something that would not replace the dollar immediately. It would be the pilot project that would exist alongside the dollar.
Well, he'd been talking about the end of the dollar, and the month before, they set him up.
Yes, so this was what Gaddafi he had been talking about, a gold-backed currency for Africa. There were all kinds of possibilities here. But that was Strauss-Kahn's plan for the week that never was for him, because he was arrested he was arrested on the weekend, and that week never began for him. So it means that similarly to Saddam Hussein, right? Saddam Hussein had shifted all of his money out of the dollar into the euro. The oil for food fund went from the dollar to the euro due to the influence of Saddam Hussein. So in this case, it's Gaddafi, but also joined by Germany, also joined by Strauss-Kahn. So it seems that
and the reason the banksters are devaluing the dollar, they want an incremental dollar devaluation to drive down every other currency, the stated policy of global concerted, coordinated devaluation. They don't want a move away from the dollar and then other currencies to go up. They want a global hyperinflationary depression to consolidate control. So this is the key juncture for the Anglo-American elite, correct?
Well, maybe we get into that, because it's a complicated situation.
Yeah, let's break down the debt ceiling, the technical default the Chinese have been talking about on the other side of Webster Tarpley. Then your phone calls.